Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, your Growth listeners. Today I have Michelle and Travis Fox. They are the co-founders of Ultimate Business Quest. I mean, yes, if you've listened to this podcast a multitude of times, you know I've had business owner on here all the time. And I know some of you listening right now are just thinking about getting into real estate or getting into any kind of business, right? Starting a business. And, where do I start? What do I do next? Well, you came to the right episode. Ultimate Business Quest is going to make it fun and easy to get the ball rolling. So you're not going to have any excuses. So if you're listening to this at the end of it, hopefully you won't have any excuses to start your business today. Thank you, Michelle and Travis, for being here.
Pleasure. Good morning.
So I mean, what's the elevator pitch? If someone's knowing what's the app, what's Ultimate Business Quest, how would you describe it?
Very simple. We're all about playing the serious game of business and making your journey as an entrepreneur from founder to funding to fortune fully immersed in gameplay so that you can actually grow your business, but make it fun and take all of this boring grind stuff out of it, but based in the clinical aspects so that you can actually become a true entrepreneur.
I don't know. Where are you guys based out of? Is Vegas or no?
Yeah, Vegas, and then our secondary offices are up in Utah.
Yep. Okay. I thought I saw Vegas. Yeah, I was like, so now we're going to get into your story, all that kind of stuff, but very curious. I mean, where did the idea of incorporating game, making it fun, and kind of the business aspect kind of come together?
Well, actually, during COVID, we started to build our online platform that was training, and then we stopped and we're like, wait a second, what is the fundamental problem right now out in the world? Is that when we started as entrepreneurs, we didn't have a blueprint, we didn't have a map. And we were starting to see that same problem over and over again, is that everybody wanted to start something, but did not know how to start it, where to go, and did not get all the tools that they needed, especially from these, high ticket seminars, is that you get a small sliver of what to do or how to start a business, but you never really get the step by step. And so we literally locked ourselves away for a week and just designed, what is the map? Like, what is the fun map that every entrepreneur goes through when they're starting business or even growing business or expanding their current business? Mm-hmm. And that's where we started.
Is one of you into app design and engineering kind of thing, or did you guys outsource that? Okay, you are. Okay.
The very first beta, I did a program. And so we did our beta test just to see, hey, are we going crazy? Is this a good idea? And It went really well. And we had such great testimonials and feedback. And we're like, all right, this is the path. So then I'm more of the game architect, so to speak, and then went to our tech team and had them do this new version that is out on Apple and Google.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. I mean, and I know if you go to Ultimate Business Quest, you see a lot of Michelle's kind of journey in fitness, right? So I'm assuming young Michelle was into fitness.
Are we on Business Quest or Ultimate Body Quest?
Yeah,
maybe that's what it was. Okay.
If you go to Body Quest, you're going to see Michelle.
Yeah.
And
Okay. That's where the confusion was. I think I got the email and I got the website, and I was going through that. And I was like, okay. So there's the confusion. That's on me, guys.
It's actually really me, and we put Michelle's head on it. But we don't want to tell you. No, really, that's one of the other divisions, and you'll learn that in the Business Quest. And as an entrepreneur myself, and what really, I had asked Michelle, who's our CEO, and I said to the board, I said, one of the things I experienced over my 31-year career at working and performing and speaking was I ran myself into the ground to the point where I literally collapsed on stage in front of 3,000 people and couldn't stop. And it was a wake-up call for me 16 years ago. And I said, what's out of balance? So on the Business Quest side, you'll go through an experience that we've actually co-created really off of her from the competitive side called your BPR. And that launched the second division actually out of sequence because we realized if you're not taking care of you, which all entrepreneurs say they do, and we know that's a lie, you don't. In fact, we talked about this off air, if you recall. We'll run ourselves into the ground. We exchanged a 40-hour work week working for somebody else for an 80-hour work week working for ourselves. And then we start to lose our relationships. We start to lose our body. And without those two things, your business will fail. So the body quest is also that journey of how do we create balance as an entrepreneur while we're growing our business, expanding our business, and ultimately to exiting our business.
So
Well, I think it's definitely funny. I mean, the idea is that, I mean, most people that I at least hear, right? It's like, I'm a grinder. I got my business. I'm a grinder. I'm working in my business, and you forget about, you're saying your health, right? You have to work on your business and in your business, because what's the quality of life? You could have successful of grinding it out, yet if you don't have that quality of life, what is it worth?
Oh, exactly.
Well, Steve Jobs, done, end of conversation.
Yeah.
Right. That's case in point. Yeah, you made your impact, but it cost you potentially your life, because we're not paying attention that, hey, the single longest relationship you're ever going to have is yourself with yourself. Your business does revolve around you, no matter what your position in the company. So we took her and said, look, she's the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, runs people all over the world, deals with me every single day and our board, and yet still has time to be a full-time competitive bodybuilder, winning competitive bodybuilder, and does it every single day. So if she can do it, what if we created a system that also integrated that as a part of the journey, but made it fun? Because the one thing we all hate is going to the gym. We feel sore. This sucks. I got to make time for it. I'm like, yeah, well, you're either in pain because you're out of shape and your body's starting to fail, or you're in pain because you put an effort into it and it's a choice to make your body better. Which do you choose? And that's what we built the Ultimate Body Quest around in the nutraceutical line, so that you could support yourself through your business.
Well, so going to that second part of it, I remember I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger talk about basically his lifting, and he goes, "I'm like an artist.
Yep.
If I see a little weakness for that, I'm just doing some sculpting on my bicep, but sculpting my back." I still try to work that mindset. It's very difficult to do it, but
Right.
I kind of remember how he says it. Let's rewind a little bit to either a young Michelle or a young Travis, and kind of talk about kind of growing up. And Michelle, then, what was life growing up for Michelle?
Actually, my biological father was an entrepreneur. So I started, my very first job is I was using a table saw and like drills and staple guns when I was 8 years old. And I remember my W-2 showing $2.50. I was so proud at that time. And I look back, I was like, man, that was child slave labor. That's awesome. So that was my very first taste of entrepreneurship. And what I got to see is the other side. I got to see my father really run himself into the ground with his body. But I also saw how much he worked. So when I started to get into more of my corporate background of, okay, first I was at the horse races for Los Alamitos racetrack, and I started doing their accounting, and then got into drag racing and started super comp drag racing, and then jumped on the pit crew of David Baca for Top Fuel. And I started to love just every aspect of every single type of organization, especially, the ones at high speed. And then I went to flight school and started running a flight school and got my pilot's license, and then really started getting a taste of entrepreneurship. And then I jumped into my big first entrepreneur gig, so to speak, is that an individual came and said, hey, I really want to start this executive suite office. I travel all the time, so this is going to be kind of your thing. Just figure it out from start to finish. And so I was a whopping maybe 18 years old. I'm like, oh, I can so do this. I can so get, build this. And so it really became my baby that I grew, and he was able to sell it off. And then I went into corporate America, and I started to really see what running yourself into the ground looked like on my point of view, as opposed to watching my father. And I had 11 surgeries in 10 years when I was in corporate America. I was working nonstop, and it wasn't fun. And finally, I got to this crossroads where I'm like, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had all these excuses. Well, I'm not old enough. I don't have enough experience. Everybody out there. Oh yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
That was in here of I'm a woman, and everybody I was networking with and seeing out in the entrepreneur world was male, and they were all twice my age. They were all, they all were consultants. I'm like, and they had degrees. I didn't have a degree. And I had this individual, and he was a very prominent worldwide doctor. And he came to me and said, hey, you were referred. Could you do a financial audit? And I jumped. I was like, oh, this is perfect opportunity. And I started to build my businesses around referrals of consulting. And I really started to see one of the fundamental problems is that entrepreneurs run themselves into the ground to the point where their bodies completely fail. And I had been on this quest, so to speak, to find, okay, well, what is this blueprint? What is this secret sauce of this work-life balance that I can incorporate for me and for all of my clients? And then Travis and I met, and it was just perfect, magnetic. Everything about it was absolutely perfect. Working together was smooth. I never wanted to be apart from him. I'm like, this is a perfect partnership. And so we started to work on businesses together. And then as we were working on those businesses, we're like, wait a second, let's create something together where we're starting from the ground up of everything that both of us have learned, every single thing. And then all of a sudden these wonderful, beautiful partners popped in and they're like, hey, we have stuff to contribute too. And we're like, great, let's all play together. And so we then created Ultimate Business Quest and Ultimate Body Quest. So that's kind of my short version of my journey.
Well, let's rewind a little bit and unpack a little bit. So you talked about your dad when you were young, being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And him kind of running himself to the bone.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that? Did it push you to want to be entrepreneur? Did it push you not to want to be entrepreneur? Or how did that affect you?
It pushed me to want to be an entrepreneur because I saw the flexibility and he didn't have to report to anybody. So there was this sense of control that I liked, where that's what I was learning from my father because he was a control freak. And but on the other aspect, I was terrified because I had seen him work himself into the ground, not make a ton of money, like really struggle. But then I saw all of the flaws and how they could be fixed and how he was doing it wrong. I was like, I could do it. I could do it better. I actually ended up buying my father's company so that he could retire and get the surgery that he had needed for 20 years that was never able to do. And so he was able to retire, get his surgery that he needed. And then I actually turned around and flipped his business. And I think I 2x'd it and sold it.
So you talk about the fear, right? I mean, the fear of not wanting to be an entrepreneur, and it seems like you bounced around to a couple different things till the age of 18, right?
Yeah.
And then from 18 went into corporate world, and then you're persuaded, I guess, to go back into entrepreneurship. What gave you the confidence to go into entrepreneurship from corporate? Because I think there's a lot of people, right, that you have that fear, and the fear is just more powerful than actually the want to actually have that freedom. So what was the words that person used to persuade you? What was the conversation? I mean, what allowed you to kind of get back into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was he was such just a gentle soul. Like he was an amazing man. And he had so many accolades. I mean, he was in the book for the world's best surgeons and had traveled all over the world doing these amazing things and very successful. And he was very old school. I mean, very, very old school. And how he said it was, I really need your help. And my brother-in-law, the one that I trust the most, he, extremely successful businessman, said there was only one name he would refer to me, and that was you. And when he said that, it was like all of those fears and those stupid comments inside my head of, you're a woman, you don't have you don't have a degree, you're not old enough, blah, 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 all went away because of how he said it, the essence of what he said. And it was, no, you were the only referral that I got for this project. So I'm here. I'm going to pay you. What is this going to be? And so it was kind of this beautiful feather in my hat for my own confidence level of when I finished, I handed over it was a financial map of everything I had found, handed over to the what was he? A forensic accountant. And he looked at it and he was like, this is absolutely perfect. You probably saved them a good 300 grand. That would have been my bill for this. I was like, man, I should pay more. I should charge more.
The brother-in-law, how did you come across the brother-in-law?
He was actually my very first mentor. It was very interesting how we met, where when I was at the flight school, he had a plane that he would go and fly all the time. So we just became acquaintances. And then when I went into this job for the executive suite, that was him. I was like, wait a second, I know you. You're from, and so we had kind of developed a acquaintance over the course of a year while his plane was up there. And then when I met him the next time, he was like, okay, you're hired. Like, didn't really need to do anything because he had saw my work ethic, and it was absolutely perfect. He became my biggest mentor, apart from my stepdad, which was an attorney that helped me. That was before. It was when I was a child, not now. Now you're my number one.
I need a moment, Vinny. I need a moment.
If you're not watching us on video, Travis is crying right now, and
you have a tissue?
So did you put it? I mean, because I think that's. I mean, there's definitely, I think, questions to kind of dive deeper into that the aspect with the brother-in-law, right? And we're gonna get to you, Travis. I haven't forgot about you. I mean, with people listening right there, I mean, I think there's an idea of putting it out to the universe, right? Your RAS. Hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do that kind of stuff. And it seems like you just did right by the person, and it kind of almost helped out. You put yourself out there a little bit. I mean, were there things that you did, or I guess the personality type that you've become that allowed you to want to go the extra mile for just a colleague or a friend, or I guess in that case, a mentor?
Absolutely. When he kind of just handed the reins over and he said, well, build it, figure it out, and then bounced over to Africa. It was like my warrior and my wizard, which is what we talk about in the quest of the personality types, is that my warrior and wizard like just were full blown on fire. It was, wow, for the first time someone sees me. There's not a hidden agenda. There's not, anything covert happening. It's somebody actually really sees my potential. Somebody sees this in me. So I'm not going to let him down. And I'm not going to let myself down. I'm going for it because I want to prove to myself that I can do it. It was kind of my very first litmus test of, can I actually become an entrepreneur? Can I start something from the very beginning to the very end? Can I do that whole process from start to finish? And without that experience and without that mentorship, there's no way I would have become an entrepreneur, because I never really got a taste of it. Like an actual taste that I did that. I created that. And it's still, the company's still today running, and we're a client of that company.
Yep.
So
one last question before I go to get to Travis. When was the moment? And it might have been there, and I would think you might have fell off a little bit, but when was the moment that you actually started to know your worth? Was it simply there, or because I would think
great question.
You might have basically got the confidence, but you almost have to reaffirm that confidence over time. So when was that point that you actually started to know your worth?
When Travis and I were together, actually.
Okay.
That was awesome.
I'm taking that compliment. Thank you.
It was even when I became an entrepreneur, I always charged too little and did too much and gave away too much. And it was still that I hadn't, even though I had the confidence, there's still that self-worth wasn't quite there yet. And it was still a bunch of fear of, I was always out there proving myself. And even when we got together and we started to go through the raise and through actually going for equity, the equity raise, it was so difficult still as a woman to stand up in front of investors and even get their attention or the time of day. And there was still that self-worth. And so with us working together and with Travis helping me personally, it was, I was like able to actually start with that, you know, self-worth. And to be honest, the bodybuilding and getting on that stage was one of the biggest impacts of self-worth for myself. And that true confidence to the core of me, of really facing those fears, facing, you know, all of that rhetoric inside my head. It's like, yeah, the judgment of self. I mean, there's a whole laundry list, but once I got on that stage and I knew I had a partner in the state, you know, in the crowd that was there for me, that was supporting me, that was 100% with me, there was just this new spark. It was this new life inside of me that popped out. And I'm like, wow, what freedom that is. And we incorporated a lot of that kind of journey inside the app as well.
Well, Travis, let's get to you.
Well, that was far more interesting, and she's far more. I don't blame you.
What does your journey consist of? Who was young Travis? Was he into entrepreneurship also?
Yeah, but mine was slightly different. I'm the antagonist in the role. I'm the guy that said this system sucks. It doesn't make sense. So I'm on the spectrum, and one of our children who is fully autistic is really where this starts. So, but going back, you know, a long time, I actually was a third world kid. I was raised in Japan and Germany collectively, and my biological father left and abandoned me when I was 6 months old with my mom. She's a model and actress, and so we're in Japan on our own. And when we came back, I met my father through my mother, obviously, and became adopted. And my father put a golf club in my hand when I was 5 years old, and that was really his passion. And it became our way to relate, and that became my dream, was to, hey, I'm going to fulfill my thing for my father. And by the time we came back to the United States around 9.5 years old, my parents got divorced and my childhood ended because my parents, in their efforts to be progressive, asked me to choose which parent I wanted to live with at 9. And I learned the first time what the limbic brain was all about, what the fight or flight mechanism really means. Although I didn't understand it at the time, I felt it. And so my entire childhood was about, how do I get Travis to survive this mechanism between these two parents? Because I was an only child. Golf became the way to do that. And I became very good at golf. And everybody knew Travis Fox would be either an actor or a golfer. Right, one of the two. And I did both most of my career. But my entrepreneurial journey started at 9.5 when Atari first came out. So that tells you a little bit about my age, those of you listening. And although I act 12, probably will for the rest of my life. My father came at me from a very left brain concept. Well, you need to earn it. You need to go out and grind. You need to go out and do mow lawns. And I tried that for 3 weeks and I said, this sucks. I said, this does not make sense because it requires me and I can't leverage that money. I can only mow one lawn at a time. And my mother said, well, why don't we try modeling? And of course, you know, 9.5-year-old, the two thing went through my head was I'm going to get the snot kicked out of me because all the guys are going to think, you know, I've lost my mind. But when she said, hey, if you get this job, ironically, it pays $200. And I said, Mom, I don't know how to model. She taught me how to model because obviously she's been doing it all of her whole life and was very good at it, very successful. And I learned. I went and auditioned and I got the job. So my first modeling job was for JCPenney as a runway model in California. And I made $200. And my father came in and tried to take my money and said, well, okay, we're going to put it in savings. And I said, time out. I said, I earned this. I did the work. I'm going to do what I want with it, Dad. I went and bought the Atari. And it was mostly just to piss my father off to prove the point. Was, Dad, there's another way to make money. It doesn't have to be this linear thought process. He was a fighter pilot, so he was very left brain. And my entire career, long story long, I go to college to play golf. And I do this subconscious rebellion, realizing later that I was really playing golf for my father, not for myself. Still play to this day, by the way, and play well. But I was playing for him. So my life came to another space when I became a father at the age of 18, ballpark 18. Changed my life completely. And I had an emotional breakdown, completely identity crisis. And I went in as a real estate major and said, okay, well, I'm supposed to be playing golf here because golf and real estate made sense. Duh. And now I have no idea who I am. By the way, any entrepreneur listening right now, you will face this experience. And it's something you need to face because who you think you are and who you are often tend to be very different. What I mean by that is not that you're acting, it's we've been programmed to be something that we're not really true to ourselves. And that was my lesson. I was lucky. I got it done very early. And then I met my real mentor and master who I sat under for 15 years and developed what we call the EC system. And actually, it's actually in the app. And what it was a whole philosophy. And I ended up getting my doctorate under him. And I realized my true passion was helping businesses grow from an architectural structure. What's the how-to? Because I'm one of those guys, Vinny, that said, hey, you need to just go out and do it. And you need to get this and you need to kind of grind through it. And I went, how? That doesn't make sense to me. Tell me the blueprint that I can nail it. So my 31-year journey as an entrepreneur, consultant, producer, director, all the things that in my resume are all about how do we make a map to do this? Not follow Travis Fox or follow Michelle. Here's a blueprint and make it your own. No different than when you build a house, there's an architectural blueprint, but how you design the exterior, interior of that house is completely up to you. Why isn't business done that way? And that was my frustration. That became my journey. And 2 doctorates later, 5 Emmy nominations, an Emmy Award, 30 awards, and here we are. And so that really became my story and my passion. I still play golf to this day, by the way. Anybody wants to go play, I'm here.
So you're trying to find yourself in college at a young age while you have a child. How are you making a living after? Did you finish college? Were you making a living on the side? I mean, what were you doing to survive?
Yeah, great question. Well, I took the 2 things that I knew I was good at and loved and slammed them together, not unlike we do in the app. I took my educational space, so I would work during college, and I would, doing my internship and work with Doc, and how do I actually do the clinical side of what I do on the architectural side and the clinical hypnotherapy side. And at night, I started doing speeches. I started the Rotary Club. I started the Lions Club. I started doing nightclub presentations, and it grew. And next thing I knew, my entertainment career exploded. And we had really brought the 2 together. I used entertainment as a back door to get people into education, because I realized education in and of itself is boring and it sucks. The rhetoric rote doesn't work. Yet that model's been around for 200 years. And it's not a disrespect to our teachers. It's a disrespect to the system. It has not evolved to where we currently are in the world. And when we know clinically now, after decades of research and literally millions of people worked with, that we learn through immersion. We literally adopt. Here's the quickest way to know. All you entrepreneurs going, oh, come on, Trav, it can't be that fun. You're the first person that needs to download the app. Here's why. You have been sold a bill of goods that you have to go through this beating your head against a wall and expect it to become a door. It rarely does. And the school of hard knocks sucks because you rarely graduate from it. But if you go back and think about your childhood for a second, even listening to ours and all the trauma that everybody's had, ourselves included, right? If you really think about it, the first 17 years of your life, you were immersed in one thing: imagination, fun, and playing and having being a kid. No one needed to teach you how to do it. You knew it. You knew how to activate your imagination. You were fearless. You could literally transform into Superman or Wonder Woman, whatever you wanted to do. No one needed to teach you how to do it. And then all of a sudden, they go, Vinny, I got good news for you. Now that you've mastered this, you're graduating high school, you need to go be an adult. Figure out your life and what do you want to do. Here's the problem. We literally have no psychological framework for what the hell that means. And we are tossed out into the wild to fend for ourselves. Sometimes that's university. Sometimes it's becoming a parent. Sometimes I just got to pay the bills. I'll get a job. And we get lost in the whole concept of what the heck does it mean to be an adult? Yet your mastership lives in being that curiosity, that awe state that you naturally mastered and was literally conditioned out of you. And through a technique called osmotic hypnosis, we start to believe that we're an adult. I don't know many happy adults. In fact, I don't hang out with adults. Why? Because they're being adult. Why would you want that? Everything we know, culturally, theologically, psychologically, spiritually, even entrepreneurially, says, hey, stay in awe, stay in the curiosity, go explore it. Because as the great Alan Watts said, life doesn't define death, death defines life. And we all have this guaranteed ticket on this train that they can't take it away from you. You can't talk your way out of it. You can't sell your way out of it. You can't sex your way out of it. And that ticket is called death. Now you get to decide how you get on that train. You can sit there and wait for the train to come to you and life passes you by, or you can get on the bullet train and live your ass off and go have fun. But business is conditioned that business and your personal development are bifurcated into 2 very separate silos. That makes no sense. You are the center of your world. Now, the world doesn't revolve around you. Please don't misinterpret the comment. But you're the center of your world. And we're always taught, go into business, and then when you finally have your midlife crisis and you blow your life up because you're not really who you are, then you go do this self-development, you do ayahuasca, and I got to figure out who the hell I am, or vice versa. I'm over here in the spiritual journey, and I have no idea how to translate the woo-woo into the business world. Well, my response is that's because the thematic that drives them is completely diabolically opposite. One is trying to be an adult. One is trying to stay curious and awe. Well, the thematic that joins them is called fun. Now, some of you out there right now, you wizards are going, well, business can't be fun, Travis. You don't understand. I'm like, I actually do understand. Well, my point to you is, why would you want it to be anything but fun? Why? Why not can make it fun? But you can make it fun in the exploration journey. Because remember, you have 17 years of mastership that you just threw out the door and went out and became something else. And along that process, you've been slowly crushing that, which is why we have midlife crisis, which is why our relationships transition into divorce or absolute decay. Our bodies go away. We don't go to the gym anymore because we put ourselves last. We've been told, take care of others, do unto other. Vinny, you got to take care of everybody else because that's what good people do. Here's the problem. That means what's left of you at the end of the day at around 11 o'clock at night, if you're lucky, Mr. Entrepreneurs out there, or CEOs, or whatever your title is, well, that means there's 10% left for you. You're exhausted. You do that over a period of time, year, 2, 3 years, it all will fall apart naturally. So we need to change the model. Now, I'm not talking about being self-centered. I'm talking about being centered in self. And those two things are very different concepts. And that's how we arrive here.
Rewinding back to you teaching, right?
Yeah.
Making your living off of teaching. How did you, and I'm assuming it's different now, but how did you back then gain the confidence in the information enough where you felt confident enough to teach it to other people?
Yeah, fair question. At the beginning, I was repeating what I was taught because that's all I knew. I'm lucky enough that I've been in entertainment my whole life. So being in front of people to me was normal. In fact, my model was reverse. Being one-on-one, I was more uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. I'm used to being in front of 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people. It was normal to me. In fact, it was comfortable. And in some cases, it was safe because there was that ability to move a crowd. The one-on-one, I sucked at. I had to learn it. It's taken me decades to learn to be comfortable in both. And I'm obviously there now. But what I've realized was at first I was repeating it. And what I was constantly doing is I would repeat the knowledge and I was watching the response of the person or the group I was speaking to. And because of the entertainment background, I learned how to move them back and forth from here's an entertainment moment to pop you out of that sequence you're in, that story you're in, that what if, that excuse, and then drive back to it. And going back and forth between those two gave me the confidence to realize, hey, part of what I'm adding to it and what I've been invited to do from my time here on planet Earth is to add my quotient to this to pass on to the next generation. And that became the subconscious quest for me. And then ultimately, what it's really become is we're all really, and I say this is going to sound woo, all you entrepreneurs are going to freak out. So hold on, take a deep breath, especially you wizards out there. You're going to overthink this for 30 seconds. So hold on for the ride. And that is what we're really doing here. And most of us we're really recovering from our business trauma. We're really trying to figure out from our failures, from why we picked the partners that we picked. Why did we get into that business? Who were we really trying to be? Was money just our single motivational action? What was the bigger why? All of these things that we hear on social media, but we don't know how to put them together in a sequence that makes sense. And if we do that in a blueprint, well, now it becomes fun again. And so for me, that became the real model of, hey, we can heal from our business trauma. We can laugh at ourselves, have some fun, learn, and most importantly, drop this model of competition. It makes no sense. We're the only people in the freaking solar system, people. Who are you competing against? Cooperate, have a blast. Sadly, we only see that traditionally in times of disaster, in human disaster. And we've seen this, and I can name them all. I'm not going to, you know that they are, going all the way back to known history. Whereas now, if we look at the model, the competition is, well, how do we create a better spaceship? How do we create a better educational system? How do we create a better communication system like the one we're on now? That competition is the competition versus a competition against, hey, Vinny, I got to get mine before you get yours. And some of those mindsets that we have that make no freaking sense and wear us down. And most importantly, they deplete you of your own life force, that curiosity and that awe. And then we end up in that same situation that both of us discussed. And that's how I did it.
Or competitive with yourself.
Right.
That's even better.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Well, talking about you two as a couple, as a partnership, as a co-founders, I mean, where did you two originally meet, and was it originally as partners? Was it originally as, hey, we want to work together in the future? I mean, what was that process, and what was that?
Well, actually, I was working as a drag queen because of her drag racing background. She saw me on stage and said, hey, kid, you got more talent than this. Can you try to have some fun. It's okay, people listening. It's okay to have fun, relax, calm down.
We actually, one of our board members on our board right now had known us before we knew each other and started to try to put us together for a year before we even met. Yeah. And he's like, if I could just get them in the room, then they can
they'll see it.
Yeah, they'll see it. And he was more stubborn than I, but
Wow.
is that when
Maybe PhD stands for please her daily. That's all it really means. Figure that out.
That's true. So he had put I was with my partner at the time, and he had a technology company that was looking to raise capital, and he had put us together to see if he would either become a part of the company or invest. And so we went up and had this meeting for the very first time, and it was like this intense magnetic pull, and it felt like this tunnel vision, and it was like this it was just him and I in the room. I was like, oh crap, this like, so afterwards I was more in awe. I was like, I'd never had that feeling before. It was extremely, I mean, I had small little slivers of that magnetic pull towards somebody, but not to that extent. And for me, it was like, oh shit, I got to stay away from him. And but we had kept on encountering each other at his boardroom constantly. And finally I left the organization that I was with. He didn't want to be a part of it because the CEO was
challenging.
He was a challenge. That's another business killer, is the freaking ego. And so then it was, I had completely removed myself from that company, went back to our board member and said, hey, I'm reviving my marketing agency. He said, great, come down and meet with me. And so I was on my way, and he said, by the way, Travis is going to be there as well. And so it changed completely from business to personal for me. I was just like, I've got to figure out what this feeling is. I do not know what it is, but I'm going to figure out, I'm just going to go with it. And that's where we started to actually work together on a project. And then it evolved into personal, but it all stemmed around communication for us. And that's why for our company values, our strongest, our three main values is communication, loyalty, and trust. And that was the base plate of our relationship, was complete, open, and honest communication from every single aspect of our lives, including, personal, business, everything.
Let me tell you what the real version, Benny. So let me tell you what's up. All right, everybody listening. That was a great clinical version. The truth is, we met our board member, who's our mutual. He's still on our board to this day. I've been with him for years. We were partners, and she was working on a different project. He did organize us together. When I first saw her in the room, I was like, that woman should be running the company. She is a sharp tech. I don't understand the corporate organization here. And that's often what we see in companies that come into the Quest. We say, yeah, you're hiring to the resume, but you're not hiring to the person. Well, who are they really? And I said to them, I said, hey, you got the genius right here. I don't understand this. If you weren't in the CEO position, this company might be more interesting, but you're actually the one blocking this entire concept due to ego. I called her in on a project and a corporate turnaround. I said, I'd love to have you come do this, and let's go. Yeah. And she was obviously easy on the eyes. Yes, I was magnetically attracted, but yes, I was the stubborn one. I'm like, nope, I'm not, I don't want to be in a relationship right now. I'm transitioning my life. I'm I was fighting it every step of the way.
Stubborn.
True story. Men, we never do that. It's always the women. Just a lie. Anyway, from that process, I fell in love with multiple aspects of her. I'm in love with every aspect of her, not just from a personal relationship, but as a business partner. I've always wanted a business partner since inception that we could create from the idea, literally from the idea, not from, hey, I brought this to the table and you brought this to the table. Let's make this puzzle piece fit, and we can fight over who did what and who brought what to the table from origin. And that really became the impetus for it. And when we came down to it, after we put the whole process together, we've taken all the assets, I went back to the team and said, guys, with all due respect, I said, she's the right man for the job. She needs to be the CEO. And it's not because she's a woman, it's because she's the right damn man for the job. And she does it amazing. She runs 72 members every single day, from the internal side and the external side. And for us, one of the base plates that we talk to, and we talk to other couples that want to work together, is really start with communication. Our relationship started from, we're going to play the game of who has the most emotional trauma, because I'm going to scare the crap out of you so you run away. Hey, here's all the things I've gone through. Here's, the abuses I've been through. Here's the stupid mistakes, the Fed. We were throwing it, and it was a fun foreplay, ironically. It was a foreplay of, hey, I need to let you know who I really am, because I'm at the stage of life I want a partner. I don't want just another fling. I don't need another relationship. What I'm looking for is a partnership. And it really became the base plate of something we tell all couples out there, entrepreneurs out there. really make your match. Don't meet your match. Meeting your match is a competitive psychological antithesis. It's an important, just like in boxing, you met your match. Meeting your match means, hey, there are things, yes. Could I run the company? Yeah, I've been a CEO for 28 years. Am I the right man for the job? No, I'm not. I'm better served at the board level doing what I do for the company. She was the right man. And have the faith and trust in our partnerships. But that all starts from origin of communication, like she said. There was nothing before we even started to work together on that first corporate turnaround. I knew more about her and more about myself than I had known in the last 20 years. And I thought right away, I said, hey, kids, this is an adventure I have to take. Otherwise, the only person that's going to miss out on that fun adventure is me. I've got to take it.
You would have missed out.
True story. And scene, right? Bang, mic drop. But that really, and I think the challenge that relationships struggle, and I don't think that's inaccurate. I know I've seen it over for 31 years now, is that we're afraid to communicate. Yeah. We're afraid to say, hey, by the way, this is my opinion. I'm not trying to be right or wrong. I'm just throwing it at you. And if your partner says, I'm going to go this different direction, trust. We suck at trust in business because we're so busy trying to heal from our business trauma when we come into relationships. Well, I've done this and I'm this and I've got all these accolades and you're this and you're that. We're playing the comparison model of opposition as opposed to, hey, these are all the mistakes I've learned. In fact, the one thing, Vinny, I don't know if you agree with this, but maybe your listeners can use it as value, is when people say, hey, Travis, I want to be like that person, I want to go talk to them. And how do they do it? Way wrong answer. Go ask them where they screwed up. Where were all the dumb ass mistakes that they made? Because that's what got them to the success. And we're so illusioned by social media. Whoa, this is my private jet. And this is my car and blah, blah, blah. All that could be fake. But tell me how you got there through the mistake so I can accelerate my learning process as opposed to, well, I did this and I met this and I had a silver spoon in my mouth and I did this and I happened to be the right place at the right time. That's not a roadmap. And moreover, you're not trying to be that person. You're trying to seek to learn from where is their mistakes to advance your process. And that becomes fun because most people who have truly had success will tell you where they've screwed up. They want you not to go through that pain. You still may. That's okay. But at least you know, and you can use that information. So for us, it was, hey, these are all the mistakes we've made. These are all the traumas we've been through. Here's the divorced relationships. Here's our kids. How do we do? Religion, sex, drugs, rock and roll, through some of the most amazing traumas you've been through. But what happened from that? You get this trust that you can look at each other and go, okay, I got your back. I may not agree with you. I don't have to agree with you, but I know because of all of our stuff, we can go. And that keeps the relationship fun at every level, business, personal, and of course, relationship. And you can figure out the rest on your own family.
No, I totally agree with you. I think everyone has issues. Everyone has mistakes. If you can't see them and they're not willing to tell you what they are, they're hiding something and they're fake and you should probably run.
Run like hell.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, mistakes are what make us, right? Especially if you learn from them.
Even taking that, right? Is it a mistake or is it a choice? And again, we make mistake with the self-judgment. It's, hey, I went through this process. This is what I learned. This is not. Who
said it was a mistake?
Yeah, right.
Who created that box?
Right. And this is what I learned. This was my outcome. That was not what I wanted to experience, but it's what I did experience. And sometimes it's what I needed, but I wasn't aware enough to know that I needed to smack myself in the head.
If you learn from it, right? I mean, it could be a mistake if you didn't learn from it, right? But if you learn from it, it's basically a stepping stone to who you are.
Right.
And that took me a long time in life to actually understand.
Brother.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the Road to Wealth podcast. If people are listening right now and they want to hear more about Ultimate Business Quest and how they can download it, get more information about it, what's the best way?
Easy. Go to your Apple store, your Android store, type in Ultimate Business Quest. You'll see the logo that's on my hat. If you're watching, if not, you'll see it right there. Download it. It's absolutely free. Start the quest today. Go for it. And two, if not, and if I may be so bold, from one podcast host to another, you can listen to our podcast with the Ultimate Business Podcast. And God willing, we'll have Vinny on there. And we'll go the other way. I'd love to interview you, sir. And again, you can go to the URL, ultimatebusinessquest.com, and find us on every social media under that name. And go for it. Download it today.
One last question right here. Where do you see Ultimate Business Quest in 5 years from now? What's the goal? What's the plan?
Oh, how long is the show?
Spark notes, I guess. Spark notes.
Clip notes. Yeah, got it. From my side, speaking from this level, Our ultimate, audacious, our ridiculous goal is we want to win a Nobel Peace Prize for turning our education system back into a learning system and keep this in our rec. We're actually going through the accreditation process as we speak right now to start injecting this entire app and process into high schools in the United States and ultimately go from there. 2, we want to help people really make business fun again, because what we've all gone through in the last 3 years is unprecedented in history. We all know that. But now is the time. I know it sounds odd, but now's the time. If you have an idea, you have a passion, you want to change your life, this is the time to do it. The app gives you that roadmap to do it, and it makes it fun. And here's the best part. We can do it together because there's a whole community worldwide that are questing individualistically and collectively to go from founder funding to fortune. And that's really where we're headed to go from there, from my side.
Yep. Nope. That we're full in alignment there.
Communication works.
We have the same goal.
Yeah.
Did I see Travis pinch you on the side? That's the goal, right? Same goal,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Is this the right goal? What's the right answer?
Thank you guys again.
Cards under the table.
Oh, is that what it is? That's teamwork, guys. That's
drawn in crayon. Let's be really clear. We're drawn in crayon so I can read it. I'm like, oh.
Thank you guys for being here today. Everyone, please subscribe, please share, go in the show notes, go download the platform. I'm gonna do it. I know my wife's gonna enjoy it, and if she doesn't, I'm gonna force her to enjoy it. But I know she will. Thank you guys. Please subscribe, please share, and go tell your friends. Bye, everyone.